Okay, so let's go ahead and use that as a segue to the second part of this question. Reagan really brought across the first amnesty bill, if you will, that was passed. And at that time, they said they should have closed the border then. But closing the border is not as easy as it just sounds like. You know, the old adage is you build a 12-foot fence, they're going to bring a 14-foot ladder. We have a thing called the Rio Grande River. It's tough to fence that. It's a joint use, huge economic coordination between the United States and Mexico along these borders. How can you really secure something that is that porous?
And this is for me first?
Yes.
Perfect. That I have 20 years experience in our military. Proudly started as a private E2, worked my way up to serve as a field grade officer, as a major. Served a tour in Iraq. Also, I commanded 700 active duty soldiers and airmen for a year and a half. And I lived in Yuma. There's 9 sectors of the Border Patrol from California to Texas. Folks, as you're sitting here listening to us debate tonight, 97% reduction of illegal entries in the Yuma sector. Well over double the success of border security anywhere in the country. We know how to secure the border, we don't have the political will to do it. Combat engineer, it's a terrain expert for the military. Back 17, 18 years ago as a young lieutenant, I helped build double barrier fence, and actually, Tom, you're wrong about a fence. You build a 12-foot fence. We built a 14-foot corrugated steel, no-climb fence, meaning you can't put your fingers or your feet into it, like some of the fence that you see. They can just climb right over it. That a fence works. That's a line that Janet Napolitano has said. She doesn't know a damn thing about securing this border. She says the border is more secure than ever before, and don't look here, there's no problem. Well, I'm telling you folks, 2 years ago, there were 220,000 plus illegals just here in the Tucson sector alone that were apprehended. The Border Patrol says that represents 1 out of every possible 3. That's not a secure border. We build a double barrier fence. We use the technology of cameras, of infrared at night, sensors to alert us that there's a breach. Then we do this novel thing that's called enforcing the law. There's disparate enforcement along all 9 sectors. That's what we need to do. I know how to do it. I've done it. I've proven those results.
Okay. Senator?
Tom, it's not really rocket scientist. We can do whatever we want to do. We've done some tremendous things in the United States, but what we really need is the political will to do it. And we just have not seen that from Washington. They do not have the political will to do it. Reagan never got the border secure, which is part of his amnesty deal. It went on through the presidents. President Bush never had the will to do it. President Obama's not going to have the will to do it. What we need to do in Congress is we need to make sure that the will is there to do that. That's what we really need to do. And if you take a look at California and what former Congressman Duncan Hunter has done, he was able to secure the majority of the border in California, which has actually helped them, but it actually harmed Arizona because then you started running illegal aliens and drugs through the most rugged part of the southern border. All we need is the political will to get it done, and we need voices from Arizona that are loud enough to make sure that it gets done.
Okay, Congressman?
Well, first of all, you have to have a plan. And we don't have a plan, and both of my 2 opponents have actually articulated that very well. But what we've missed is actually holding Mexico accountable to the rule of law, because they share a border with us. We must hold their government accountable as well. That is of importance. The second part is finding the resources. And you're going to have to be creative in how you look at these resources. I have been one of those looking in dire straits with our economics. For example, we have a wash called the Santa Cruz Wash that emulates in Mexico. What I mean by that is it starts at high ground there and comes in the United States. And the federal government is responsible for that. Well, when we put the Army Corps' money accordingly to repair and make sure that we don't get flooded, it gives us another opportunity to increase our commerce, also increase our supply of folks that we're actually looking at enforcement. But it takes looking at all those things, and it takes having a plan. And that's why I sit back and I say thank you so very much for those administrators and those legislators and the governor of Arizona for challenging the federal government, because the federal government is in the way.
Can we have a rebuttal?
You can have a rebuttal, then the other 2 get to.
That'd be great. Well, contrary, Congressman, you're wrong. There there is in fact a plan. The plan is the McCain-Kyle plan. Our two senators from Arizona, based on an initial draft that I presented to them, based on the success in Yuma, 97% reduction in illegal entries under tactical operational control, that's a secure border, folks. I wish that we had representatives that understood that there is a plan that has three main components to it, this 10-point plan. 6,000 armed soldiers on the border. Build and complete the double barrier fence with technology and enforce the law. Folks, it's that simple. We all talked about the political will. There's a plan. Imagine having a congressman who's actually built these barrier fences, commanded soldiers who were armed, and produced the greatest results, to educate other congressmen, to get them to sign on to this bill. Because it went nowhere in the House, and they have the Republicans in the Senate. So if we send not just another voice or somebody who can give a good speech, somebody who's been a combat engineer who's done this job.
I vaguely remember somebody that did a TV commercial with Senator McCain about building the dang fence.
That was me.
But I haven't seen a fence built yet. I'm not going to wait for Senator McCain and Senator Kyle to do something. Senator Kyle actually sponsored an amnesty bill in 2006, which I was aghast at. Folks, we need the political will to do it. We have people that can build the fence, but what we don't have is people with political will to actually do it.
You know, we actually have to have members of Congress that have character. You know, when you talk about securing the borders, we can't do it in our own personal life. Regardless of what the sheriff actually says, you actually have to live with character.